One of the great things about motorsport is that every single day is different. But this day, Saturday at the Clipsal here in Adelaide, well, there's nothing quite like it. You can forget the pre-season testing, forget all the launches and all the talk, because today is the day that we go racing in the 2015 V8 Supercars Championship.
Matty, it doesn't matter what driver you are, what category you're in, what track you're at, the first race of the season is always nerve-wracking.
I couldn't agree more, Mark. This is my 14th Clipsal. I've done 26 races at this place, and I've been lucky enough to win one of them. But I can tell you, I'm pretty nervous at those 500 long, hot kilometres.
Yeah, and it is a long way, and right from the get-go, we go and shove our toughest race of all. Let me tell you, of all the words you try and think of to describe this event, endurance, perseverance, you've got to make smart decisions. The thing that springs to mind is it is just bloody tough.
It's great to be back, and your 10 Motorsport team is ready to roll. Mark Webber, Rick Kelly, yep, Larko, and that whiteboard. It's going to be that kind of year. Fast, furious, and a whole lot of fun. So, let's go racing. Well, the city of Adelaide is shining again, and it's going to be hot again. A top of 34 degrees. It's already into the 30s, but they're rolling in once more on the back of our biggest Friday crowd in 5 years at this circuit. And the class of 2015, 25 drivers. They're all lined up and ready to rumble. Yep, it's Saturday here at the Clipsal. That means it's time to get it on. The first two races of the championship season. I'm Matt White. It's great to be back on 10 with you, and great to be alongside this man once more, Mark Webber. Good to see you, mate. Your first ever taste of the Clipsal 500 yesterday. We survived. It was hot and tough. Can you believe they're going to come back today and do two races, 250 Ks in total?
Yeah, mate, I was surprised. Yesterday's sessions, 3 practice sessions, 2 qualies. Crucial that they got those right. The guys were busy. I mean, I interviewed Jamie Whincup last night. He looked tired. I mean, he looked actually, you know, pretty exhausted. They got that first practice session out of the way, and now it's race day, mate. So, yeah, it's full on. And
Jamie had an easy day, relatively. We're going to touch on that a little bit more. It also showed, I think, yesterday just how hard the category is. We get a guy like Marcus Ambrose, a 2-time V8 Supercars champion, comes back. Sure, it's been a long time, but he ends up qualifying right down at the back of the grid, and people are asking why.
Well, it doesn't take much. I think, you know, when you've got a short little technical track like this, he's going to be rusty, even venue rust, and then he's got some car rust in terms of technicalities of what he's got to do with his vehicle and get the best out of fresh tyres. All these type of things are going to add up, and before you know it, you've bled 1.4 seconds, and that's over in a blur, and he's at the back of the grid. So they'll be working very, very hard to make sure that this is not going to obviously continue in future events in terms of qualifying pace, and have some penetration towards mid-pack.
Marcus is one hell of a tough competitor. He, of course, has Roger Penske in the garage with Dick Johnson Racing. So, Marcus fans, don't worry about the slow start. He will continue to pick away. Great to have you on our 10 team, mate. And also, my mate in pit lane, Mark Larkham, because V8s just aren't V8s without you. You're in the Shell Helix Technology Hub. We've given you all the toys, but we can talk about the conditions, Larko, but really the circuit here is a critical factor.
It is a tough one, mate, and by what Jamie Whincup did there yesterday, for me, he's just put a whole lot of pressure on the field, and they're going to have to think about their strategies. They're going to have to go a little faster than they were maybe expecting, and that to me is going to make this weekend really, really interesting. And I just want to point out a couple of things. If we just have a look at some of the stats for the weekend, we've got 25 cars, 25 drivers, but 12 Holdens, 5 Fords, 4 Nissans, 2 Mercedes and 2 Volvos. And when we look at those a little bit closer, Commodores or Holden have won 10 from the last 11 starts here. They're clearly favourites. And who is going to be hot this weekend? Well, for me, it has never been hard. I was having a bit of a look this morning. I reckon there's 12 guys capable of winning this race and probably 18 or 20 capable of a podium. But I'd say anything HRT, anything red's going to be red hot. Van Gisbergen, Mostert, McLaughlin, and of course you can't discount Jamie Whincup. A couple of dark horses for the weekend. Anything in a Nissan, I think, just watch out. And Lee Holdsworth in that Walkinshaw car. There you go.
Yeah, not only that, who's going to be hot? All of us, Larko. It's already into the low 30s and, as I said, a top of 34, maybe more. So the V8s have had one run this morning, boys. Practice for a 20-minute session. Jamie Whincup had an easy night. He took the car back beautifully last night and had a big rest. Davey Reynolds did a good job in qualifying for the Bottle O Ford. That's the older spec Falcon, but he goes off onto the grass and he won't be the last to do some lawn mowing down there on the approach to the main straight. That was Ash Walsh, and here's Lee Holdsworth. Ended last year in a Mercedes. Mid-year or mid-season, off-season, he goes to a Ford and he winds up in a Walkinshaw Commodore. That's V8 Supercars racing. And just check out what this circuit can do to you as we look at Craig Lowndes over the centre chicane. Yeah, that first chicane is a very, very tricky entry point. You see the guys trying to miss that inside bundle. And the big compression on the second curve there. But on board, you see how hard these guys are working, the concentration, hitting the inside curve here, exit, launching on the curve. The traction of these cars is really important. And that's that bundle I was talking about, that entry point for them. Then to line up this next point, really hard. You see the bodywork flexing and the guys trying to get the trajectory right. And they're just trying to straight line these corners. They don't want to go around corners, these guys. They want to go straight and generate the lap time. Yeah, that's Chaz Mostert in the Pepsi Max crew for Pro Drive Racing Australia. And this is on the roof of car number 97, and a man that we'll be watching with interest simply because he is SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen. He's got a style like no other, and he's at Team Techno. They finished 2014 beautifully. He finished second in the championship. He's a race winner here previously. He's got great form when it comes to qualifying, and at the end of the day in that practice session he topped the timesheets, a 1:21.234, so about 1.2 seconds off the blistering time that Jamie Whincup set in qualifying. Chaz Mostert, Fabian Coulthard, Bradley Jones Racing showing an enormous amount of pace. James Moffat, the best of the Nissans, and Whincup there in 7th with Winterbottom rounding out the top 10. That was practice 4, but everybody at the end of yesterday was talking for good reason about Jamie Whincup. Sure, he came out and did what we expect of Whincup, but I think even to his lofty standards, Mark, this was an extraordinary performance. Qualifying session number 1, this is the back end of the lap that puts him on pole position at the death. He comes up against some traffic there with Tim Slade in front of him, and your time, well, the time that he sets here is a qualifying record time, 1:20.09. The rest of the field goes, oh my God, here we go again. And that's exactly what happened because he backs it up. Yeah, you know, incredible. I mean, it was actually a bit of a bloodbath. Those 2 sessions, I mean, if it was a boxing match, you'd be calling it off. I mean, those times that he drilled in, perfect sectors. And when you can do it like that as a driver, get the greens nailed as much as you can like that, he's, like I say, he's put so much heat on the opposition with those lap times. They're so quick. One of the big questions coming into this weekend, everybody was asking who can catch Jamie Whincup. 6 championship titles now. He's the greatest driver of the modern era. But one of the broader questions, I reckon, is what does Jamie do next? We know that he's signed until the end of 2018 with Red Bull Racing Australia. But you sat down with him last night for a special one-on-one, and he gave a little tease, a little tease as to where he might end up in the short-term future. Check this out.
I'd like to see you one day have a crack over there, in Europe. Anything on your mind that you'd like to have a look at over there? I've got a few mates that have gone over and have highly advised, you know, to check it out and definitely explore, you know, just sort of branch out a little bit. Well, it sounds as though there might be a loophole for Jamie Whincup to make a move if he wants to. That interview in full coming up throughout the day. What would your advice be to him if he did want to do it?
I think that it'd be great to see him go there. I mean, obviously he's nailed it here, done very, very well. He's obviously a huge part of the championship. They would love to keep him here. He's going to be racing here for a few more years to come, no question about that. When I questioned him about doing the odd race over there, and he said, no, I'm busy, I need to, you know, the family. And for me, they were excuses. He's not that keen to go over there yet, but I think when he can tidy himself up here, I think it could be a clean break in the future. He might say, you know what, I'm going to go over there and actually do it properly, do a few more than a few rounds. You know, he was mentioned obviously Porsche 911s, those sort of things. So who knows what he can you know, go over there and do. But you know, he'd love it. He'd get so much out of it. New venues, new tracks, and I think he'll enjoy it.
Yeah, looking forward to that full interview with Mark Webber and Jamie Whincup later on in the day. We want you to get involved throughout the course of the weekend. Use the hashtags on your screen. Ask Webber, ask Larko, and ask Rick. Any questions about anything, keep them coming and we'll try and get them answered. Mark, I've already got one because we put it out there. This is from the General Lee, and he says, basically, would you ever come back, suit up, drive in a V8 supercar at Mount Panorama? Would you do it?
I think, well, Roland Dane actually asked me in Abu Dhabi a few years ago when I was racing Formula 1. He said, mate, just let me know when you want to come back and do Bathurst and we'll get you a little seat there. But I'm actually not that fired up to it. I raced here in 95 in Formula 4, really enjoyed it. And I think it's like AFL and rugby union. It's just so different. So for me to come back and do it would be probably more frustrating than anything because I'd want more out of the cars. They're obviously pretty heavy. They're very trick to drive. And these guys are just super experts in their field. So, yeah, it'd probably give me a decent toweling. So probably best I stay away from it.
Might keep chipping away at him for you, General Lee. No worries about that. Don't go anywhere. Rick Kelly will join us right after the break. Porsche Carrera Cup racing also just around the corner as a massive 2015 gets underway. You want motorsport? You're in the right place. Follow our man Dan as he bids for Formula One glory. It's Ricciardo's third win in 6 races. Jack's back, but this time he's racing the big boys at MotoGP. And follow every round of the V8s. Look at that! Big contact this time. If that's not enough, RPM is back. Sundays from 4 till 5. Network 10, your home of big event motorsport.
One of the best things to do on Clipsal 500 weekend is to get over here into the traction zone where you can meet the fans like Dom, who's here with his son Massimo. You guys are pumped for a big weekend?
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be great.
Now, what about you, Massimo? You must be really excited to watch the V8s. Yeah, I thought so. I actually wear those same headphones every time Mark Howard speaks. They're very good, very noise cancelling, very important. You should get a pair. Hey, what I thought we could do is reveal how big this area is. You've booked out this whole grandstand just for you and your son.
Yeah, we don't like other people around us.
I can tell by your body language you're not liking me, but that's okay. I'm going to get out of your hair, but before I go, we need to set a world record for the world's smallest Mexican wave. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, go for it.
You start us off.
All right.
It's back around. It's back around. Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark. Yeah! He's loving it.
Sam Mack out in the stands. Don't worry, boys. We're not going to do any Mexican waves in this studio. Rick Kelly's joined us from Nissan Motorsport and the Jack Daniels car number 15 and part of our 10 Motorsport team for 2015. Good to see you, Rico, and thanks for giving us your time. I know you got a very busy day ahead. Let's recap what happened for you yesterday. Came out with a bang on the top of the timesheets in practice, but then qualifying was an entirely different story. A lot of people go, as a driver, how does that affect you?
I'm devastated. No, look, we went through our program yesterday. We really tried to build up towards qualifying, making sure that we had a good car there, and unfortunately it didn't quite go our way. The track changed just a little bit for us, and it changed the balance, and unfortunately around a place like this, if you have a slight imbalance on each corner, it just costs you half a tenth every time you go into the corner, and it adds up across the lap to be reasonably significant. And so we found ourselves a little way back at first day back at school, so we've got a little bit of work to do today.
You've been around this game long enough, you've been around this circuit long enough to know the highs and the lows, but mentally, how much does that drag you down, and how much have you got to pick yourself back up for a day like today? And what was last night like for you back at the hotel?
It wasn't too good. You're just delving into the data, trying to work out where that balance problem come from and fixing it for today. But myself, I love the Clipsal 500 event. It's a longer race meeting to what we're used to, and we do have a little bit more opportunity in even these 125-kilometre races to get that back. We have pit stops today, which we know you have to change at least 2 tyres. We'll take a splash of fuel. We can move that window around to suit ourselves and try and peg our way back to where we think we should have been, which is well inside the top 10. So we're pretty excited to get out there.
You mentioned the changes in the circuit from practice through to qualifying. The circuit itself, how much has it changed? It stays pretty much the same, but everything changes a lot when you throw in the vagaries of a street circuit. So this is on board car number 15. We call it Hamburger Cam. It just sits right on the top there. So run us through what essentially has changed over the years of this circuit.
What's a great thing about the Clipsal event, it's a pretty historic event, not much change. Turn 8, the fastest corner on the track you see there, really quite a tough one to get right, a little bit nerve-wracking into there, but generally the layout hasn't really changed so much. When we say the track changes, it's more so the temperature and the categories before us that can affect the grip that's there on offer. So you really want to try and predict the temperature change, make sure your tyres and car are nice and well suited to that. Obviously yesterday, really warm day outside, and today is very much shaping up to be similar to that. So we need to predict what sort of track temperatures we're going to see and what that means for our car balance and our tyre pressures and so on.
Yeah, I was interested, mate. Actually, everyone was quite cooperative in terms of quite a lot of cars on track, and I just thought how it worked out quite well. So what's in the drivers' briefings and what's the sort of protocol with how I thought it went quite smooth?
That's a good question, that one.
Yeah.
It might look smooth from here, but it's a very hot topic in the drivers' briefing because everyone wants to get a good little bit of track position to get some clear track for their qualifying lap. So everyone races around to the back of the circuit and then everyone stops and goes about 5k an hour to try and get around.
Because visibility's poor in that last year. You can't see if people are starting to queue up.
And we have seen a big accident there before with Murphy. I think it was Winterbottom, front to back there was really big, but it's a little bit tough. We didn't have any major dramas in qualifying that run, like you said, which was good. And again, this morning it was brought up in drivers' briefing, trying to give each other a little bit of room there. But everyone wants the piece of track that really doesn't exist and wants a good gap of 3 or 4 seconds. So it can be challenging, especially when you head to a place like Tasmania, which is such a short circuit.
Brutal.
And don't worry, there's no gentleman's code, is there, in the drivers' briefing?
No.
Just a quick one on street circuits. Obviously, you had a lot of success in different formats, of course, on street circuits. But would this be a perfect kind of amalgamation, because it's half parklands, half street? So you get those twists and turns, you get the bumps and bruises, but you also get a bit of flowing action as well.
Most street circuits are always technical, so a little bit bumpy. The curbs are artificial, so we see the first chicane here, tricky, takes its toll on the cars. The last sector when the guys are 13 on the brakes over the curb, trying to stop the car for 14, really tricky with their front locking and things like that. So street circuits throw out, like Montreal, Monaco for us, Singapore, those tracks are really brutal over the years, mate. And you know, I'm happy to be here, mate, and you're out there, buddy. And I'm
sure you don't want to race my car this hard,
I'm happy, buddy.
She's back in 17th if you want it.
I'm happy, mate, yeah.
You're hydrated, you're ready to go?
Yeah, certainly am.
Yeah. Good one. Well, have a great day, mate. We're going to follow your fortunes, as I say, and we do have that hashtag of Ask Rick as he goes through the course of today's races, and also you can ask Mark, in fact, the two Marks, Webber and Larko, down there in pit lane. So it's time for our first race of the day, the Porsche Carrera Cups. They had one race yesterday, and multiple Bathurst champ Stevie Richards is doing a great job. He took the victory there. Can he do it again? As we hand you over to our commentators, Alex Davison and Chad Nayland.
Okay, sun beaming down on this racetrack. It might not get quite as hot as it was yesterday for Porsche Carrera Cup. At least we know that the track conditions are just about right for these beautiful thoroughbred German cars right now, Alex.
Yeah, look, early in the morning the track's a bit cooler, but it's still really hot out there. Having walked from the paddock, it's already very high track temperatures.
Okay, so out come the 991s, and it's time to check out how they'll start. And it's a tale of competition at the front between Richards and Russell. The big names will be down the back. Nick McBride having a killer weekend for Sonic, and Craig Baird off the second row.
Craig moving up into striking distance after that first race. Still some big names down the back. Tony Bates starting on what is pole for the challenge class, so that'll be an interesting battle. Shane Smollen right there, he's a hard charger.
And behind them, we've got some fast-charging guys. So it's going to be an extremely exciting race two. It's coming up very, very soon here. So 12 laps will be the journey. Richards v Russell front row. Can Baird find some success, which he's had at this track, 2013 champion, plus he went on a hat-trick of event wins between 2006 and 2008.
Craig Baird on the second row is renowned as one of the best starters in Carrera Cup history in Australia, so watch what he does from the second row of the grid.
Oh, Maxini jumped in the background, but he got that car stopped.
Steve Richards and Craig Baird both getting great starts, but Steve has done enough to lead into turn one. Baird didn't have enough to get past David Russell, but he's up to third place, getting the better of Nick McBride off the line.
Beautiful start from Richards. He goes straight to where he was yesterday. The race for second should be a good one, because Craig Baird will know that he needs to get the job done early. Oh, Richard Muscat was looking excited and wanted a position from Cam McConville. Great start from McConville. He's actually got that jump. 6th on debut yesterday, and he's managed to sneak around the reigning Australian GT champion at the start of the race. And also Fraser Ross, good start from him. He moves up to 8th.
Fraser Ross having a big race yesterday, charging hard. We saw him sideways under brakes a few times, hanging it all on the line. So let's hope he can continue his march forward. Beardo putting the pressure on David Russell on this first lap. When you ride on his bumper, Russell hitting the wall. Baird will be down the inside here. We can see Russell's mirror all bent up. Hopefully, he's got damage to the rear of his car. We can see the left rear wheel. Looks like it's lost a lot of camber. They're quite fragile, these cars. Let's hope he doesn't have damage. I hope I've got it wrong. Something didn't look right, but we'll see.
Oh, no. David Russell returning for a full-time campaign running for Maury Pickering's Finance Easy Car. And it's actually looking okay at the moment.
It does.
He did clip the wall at the final round in the number 1, turn 1 chicane at the Gold Coast last year and had some problems, but managed to continue time. Hopefully he can continue. I would be surprised if he got through that unscathed without any damage at all. These cars are lightweight racing thoroughbreds. They don't put up with contact like that, heavy contact like that, but let's see. He's still going okay. He's hanging with Craig Baird. I'm sure he'll feel it out for the next lap or so just to give himself some confidence, and hopefully it's okay and he'll press on. So Richard Muscat's got himself back around Cam McConville, and that puts McConville at the end of this train. And Michael Armand, who's got a great start, found his way up into 5th here. And he started back in 7th, I believe. So that was a great start. Fantastic first lap in front of his more experienced teammate in Cam McConville. Cam has been drafted into the team to sort of mentor Mike and try and bring him along, but he's getting the better of Cameron at the moment, beating the teacher. So he's doing really well. We go Nick McBride all over David Russell, putting pressure on him. David Russell will have in the Muscat up the inside of Armand there. So Muscat started that move from way back. Big move under brakes, showing good confidence. Those two used to race each other in GT3 Cup Challenge. The championship which Muscat won, he moved into the Australian GT Championship. He won that too. That's why we've got so much promise surrounding the young Victorian as they go back under brakes to complete the end of the second lap. Stephen Richards will come screaming past, and 1:23.9 is the fastest out of the lead bunch. So he's got his eyes down. He's opened up a 2-second lead over Craig Baird. Yeah, look, he's stretching that lead already just like he did yesterday. He won the race. He got it out to sort of 1.9 to 2 seconds yesterday and held that. But we've seen Beardo take 2/10 out of him in the first sector here. So let's hope for our sake, watching the race, that Beardo hasn't given up and he can reel Steve in. But Steve's showing fantastic pace already over these races 1 and 2. McConville pinged for a curb up on that time. He's already been done twice. I did see Marksini, it looked to be Marksini, just crawling in the Hallmark Porsche at the background. No. And here is Russell getting the wall. Russell too wide. That is a heavy impact with the left rear. As I said, I would be so surprised. I know how... He's very lucky to get away with that, if that is the case. At least to not have a tyre going down. You can see his helmet moving. Yeah, that big. That was a heavy impact. The car's even pulled air. There's no way he can get away with that without any damage. Let's hope the damage isn't so severe that it puts him out of the race. Oh, look at this. He's fallen back behind McBride. Just got past him. Look, David's an experienced guy. He's a hard charger, but he's going to have that impact in the back of his head still. He'll know that something isn't quite right with the car. It looks like to me the left rear wheel is very upright. It looks to me like it's bent something and it's lost a lot of its camber. That's only visual, so I might be wrong. I mean, I'm not magic, but yeah, look, let's hope that he can get... He's still showing pretty good pace, although not as fast as we would expect him to be. Let's hope he can get to the rear. Every time he rocks up at turn 8 for the rest of this race, he'll have it in the back of his head and be hoping that nothing fails on him. For those tracking Nick Foster's progress, he's come roaring up the field to 8th at the moment as we have a look at how McBride got the move done under brakes down at turn 9. Doing that move comfortably. Russell, he wasn't that comfortable. He struggled to pull it up, but Russell giving him room. He knows he's wounded now. He'll be just wanting to get, like, he'll be counting the laps down. He wants to get to the end of this race without any more incidents. And we've seen 2 breaches of the timing at turn 1 and 2. Which means that if it happens again for McConville and McBride, they'll actually be given a 5-second post-race penalty. So they need to be careful with that, as Foster's absolutely charging. He's caught the lead pack. Unbelievable. Actually, he's gone under the radar. I haven't even been watching Nick, but he's had an amazing race. He's up to 8th place, 7th place now, because he's just passed Michael Armand. From the back of the grid, Matt Campbell's still down in 20th position, so Matt hasn't been able to move forward with Nick.
he did that without me noticing. That's very, very impressive. We'll keep an eye on him for the rest of the race.
He's famous for his aggression, isn't he, Alex? I mean, we've seen it last year. When he wants to get around cars, he's not afraid to stick his nose in. Sometimes it gets him into trouble. But you know what? When you're starting back on the 9th and 10th rows, you don't really have time to ask questions. You've just got to get it done.
Absolutely. Look, he's got it done. He's just done the fastest lap at a 22.8. It's 0.4 of a second, just about quicker than Stephen Richards done, who's driving away from Craig Baird out in front. He's got the lead out to 2.6 seconds. So Steve's doing exactly what he did yesterday. He's commanding this race. And but Nick Foster, if he can get up to second or third, up to the leaders for race 3, he's going to take the race to take the fight to Stephen Richards for sure.
And by not racing in the first race, he'll have plenty of tyres left for it too.
That's very true, very true. 8 tyres for all the Carrera Cup competitors, but across 3 races, that's not enough to put new tyres on for each race. So generally...
Musket locks the rears.
With the rears locked right behind David Russell. He'll be just finding his opportunity to get past the wounded David Russell. But as I said, you have a choice. You put your fresh tyres on for race 2, or you put your fresh tyres on for race 3. And in the alternate race, you'll have a set of used tyres, or a mixture of the best tyres that you have available after qualifying in race 1.
Apart from obviously Foster, who can just throw a fresh set on and get after it in both occasions. Here is your leaderboard at the moment. And as it stands, it's Stephen Richards who's absolutely charging. But the big news for me is Nick Foster. He's pushing extremely hard.
Welcome back to the Clipsal 500 here on 10. The drivers, of course, as always, have been out and about. We've got your questions coming through from our hashtag Ask Rick. It comes from his own team followers, in fact, and it's a good question. How hot does it get in the car during a race? Well, I can tell you about 50 degrees plus. So 50 to 60, that's over 20 above ambient. As we go back to the Porsches.
The door opens. Fassini. Damage to the front end, and hopefully he's managed to get that thing shut down before it cooked itself, because it did drop all of the coolant and water out the front end.
Yeah, we don't know where the... here we go. Hopefully we see a replay of what happens to Mark. And, just exit of turn 11. Look, he hasn't driven it that far. That won't be a problem. Driving from turn 11 into the pit lane, he won't have damaged the motor. They'll get that car fixed up. No problem for race 3 today. But unfortunate to see Mark out of the race. As I said, he has the most Carrera Cup race starts. Aston Martin, a bit of a spin. We saw him have a similar spin earlier in the weekend there, but harmless spin nonetheless.
That would explain who was on the rev limiter.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't Mark Sini.
Yeah.
We've still got Nick Foster hassling David Russell. Now, what I started getting at before is David Russell is obviously comfortable that his car's not damaged, contrary to what I thought. I was obviously wrong. And he's showing great pace. He's right back on the pace. 29.0 for the first sector there, so quicker than what the leaders are doing. And he'll be pushing on to try and hold his 4th position till the end of the race. He's got 3.5 laps left.
Tyre pressure's creeping up, always in these Michelin tyres. Maybe he started them quite low and it's coming on quite nicely at the end, because he's the only guy that's been able to hold up the hard-charging Nick Foster.
We're still seeing Nick Foster putting plenty of pressure on. He's got the headlights going. He's right behind him through turn 8. And for sure, he'll be looking to have a lunge into turn 9 here. Let's see what he can do. Late on the brakes. You can see the car skidding over the bumps. Great move. A little bit of rear locking on entry, but does enough to park at mid-corner, and he'll be off and away, hoping to get that 5-second lead that he needs before the end of the race.
And for Russell, it's probably best to just let him go and try and keep him within 5 seconds.
Absolutely. David, at the moment, although his pace is very good, he'd be smart to do the absolute bare minimum to get that car to the finish. He doesn't want to drive it any harder than he absolutely needs to, because I'm still convinced that there'll be some sort of damage. Even if it hasn't bent or broken, it'll be weakened or fatigued from that big impact. These cars aren't designed for such heavy impacts. They've got an independent rear suspension system. It's not like a live rear axle like the old V8 supercars had, which, were like something out of a tank. These cars are lightweight and built for performance, not for heavy impacts like that.
So it's been a great drive from Nick Foster from the back of the field to be 4th, but it is looking like he'll have a looming 5-second penalty for curb hopping, so he needs to keep charging, chase down his teammate, who's about 200, 300 metres up the road. Here is the Laser Electrical and Plumbing 991 of Stephen Richards. He's been maintaining that gap beautifully.
Foster flying, 3-4 tenths quicker than everybody else in the first sector so far. Obviously, Steve Richards and Craig Baird probably don't have anything to worry about there. But at this rate, you never know. By the end of the...
Oh, no, it's Foster. Oh, he's pushed too hard, and it's come unstuck at turn 8.
That's disappointing. We've seen Nick show so much pace, not just this year, but even across last year, and it's these sort of mistakes which have really brought him unstuck. So,
oh, he looks furious with himself. We check in with race control as that car is stranded on the racing line on approach to turn 9. And if a safety car...
Look at him. He'll be devastated with himself. I know Nick really wanted to make a concerted effort to, to just reel things back a little bit this year and get the car to the finish of the races and combine that with the raw speed that we know he has. Unfortunately, he's let it get away. We'll see a replay of what happened
He lost the rear end.
See Dave Russell having a big moment avoiding Nick Foster. Heavy damage to the left-hand side of Nick Foster's car. That car, I'll be surprised if they have that fixed this weekend, but you never know. It just depends. Here we go, another replay. It looks like he's clipped the inside curb. Remembering that in these Porsche Carrera Cup cars, we're sitting on the left-hand side of the car. A corner like turn 8, a right-hander, it is difficult to judge where the right-hand side of the car is, and it's an easy mistake to make, but it's a mistake you can't afford to make at this level. And a mistake guys like Steve Richards and Craig Baird very rarely make. So Nick's showing fantastic pace. You can see him lose the rear of the car, heavy impact. Look, there'll be heavy chassis damage to that car. You never know. They may be able to fix it, just depending on how it's hit. He may have got lucky, but I would be very surprised if we see that car on the track again this weekend.
Look at it stand up, stadium truck style. And amazingly, we've not seen a safety car yet, Alex, so they're trying to wave that off with local yellows to keep this race going.
And look, probably an interesting thing to note is that James Bergmuller has his hands on the one spare shell that lives down at PCA. If that car does need a new shell and is not repairable, he won't be able to race at the Australian Grand Prix next weekend. Hopefully it's something that can be fixed for the Grand Prix next weekend, and we'll see Nick Foster, one of our fastest competitors on the circuit, racing back at Albert Park in 1 week's time.
Well, we wish him the best. He reminds me of a bit of a Shane Van Gisbergen in his aggression and sheer speed as we pick up the race leader and reigning Porsche Carrera Cup Australia champion Stephen Richards, 2.2 second lead.
And Steve's doing exactly what he did yesterday. He's got that lead out to about 2 seconds and he's cruising. But there'll be local yellows here, you'd assume. To be honest, I'm surprised they haven't brought out the safety car. Good that it's in a pretty safe position. Good that they've let the race go to the end. It's not in a dangerous position, but hopefully, the guys are going to have to respect those yellows. If someone else has the same accident, they could end up in the same position as Nick. But one lap, well, they're on the last lap, so we're seeing Steve Richards only with a couple of corners to go. I'm super surprised how easy Steve is doing it. I mean, he's got the pace over Craig Baird. Craig Baird with a new chassis this year. His car he wasn't happy with last year, and we've seen he's a world-class Porsche driver, Craig Baird. Checkered flag, Steve Richards getting the win. Craig Baird 2.3 seconds back, followed by Nick McBride. 2 top 3s in the first 2 races. Great result from Nick McBride. Stephen Richards makes it 2 from 2 in Porsche Carrera Cup Australia. Perfect way to start. And could this be finally the time for him to break through for his first round win on the streets of Adelaide? You'd have to say that it's looking good at the moment, but he's still got one more race that he needs to keep his focus for. Did it off the start, and he just got that perfect start and maintained that gap. Back to Craig Baird. Here's how they line up inside the top 10. Fraser Ross doing a fantastic job. Simon Hodge in front of his family. He's got his mum, dad and sister here this weekend, and he's brought it home in 8th. Michael Armand, another local racer. Richard Muscat getting a pair of top 5s to highlight what's been a fairly good weekend for him so far.
Well done, Chad Nayland, and heartbreak there for Nick Foster. But Stephen Richards is well and truly on a roll. He has done the double. One more Porsche race to go on the weekend. That's tomorrow, and you'll see it here on 10. Still to come, the V8 Utes just around the corner. We're also going to ask the V8 Supercars drivers who they think will win the Clipsal 500. And on the way to the break, Nat Hunter is out and about.
Well, there's plenty of glitz and glamour down here at the track, including lots of celeb spotting. I've run into 2 of the biggest rev heads here at Clipsal. The boys from Neighbours, I've got Steph and Dennis, Ryan Maloney and Ryan's son Jack. Guys, welcome welcome to Clipsal. Are you having fun?
Thank you for having us. This is great fun. I absolutely love this.
You love your cars, don't you?
Anything to do with motorsports. I'm a bike freak myself, but anything to do with racing, cars, bikes, boats, anything's fun for me.
It'll have to be a great break from the set of Neighbours. Speaking of Neighbours, it's celebrating its 30th year this year. You guys, Stefan, you've been with the show. Well, you were with the show when the very first episode was filmed. Oh, wow, it's loud around here. And you didn't think it would last too long, did you?
No, originally, because I was in episode 1, and when I was cast for it, or while I was being cast for it, I thought it was going to last for about 6 months. My agent said, "Oh, just do it anyway." I said, no. And I was actually right, because it lasted 7 months before it was axed from another network and then picked up by Channel 10.
And now 30 years on, it's still going.
Who'd have known, eh?
Ryan, I have grown up watching you on TV. I love your character, Toadie. Do you have a favourite memory?
Probably any kind of nudie run is always a favourite memory. And all the wrestling kind of stuff as well. That's always good fun, yeah.
Okay, good. Now, you guys have a 30-year special coming up. Who can we expect to see on it? There's a pretty awesome lineup.
Oh, yeah, quite a few. We've got Delta. We've got Delta Goodrum.
Yep.
We've got Smith playing Harold coming back. We've got Madge coming back. We've got, a few surprises.
And even Kylie?
Well, I'm going to keep that one up my sleeve.
Okay, hey, Jack, just quickly, who's your favourite race car driver?
James Courtney.
Oh, good choice. Okay, guys, well, that special is coming up. But for your daily dose of Neighbours, make sure you tune into Channel 11 weeknights at 6:30.